a wonderful hat. I thought that she might be at the Kentucky Derby today. But Donna, I'll hand the baton to you.
Can't hear too well.
Yeah. Paul, did you want to kick off since this is the first meeting? Do you want to kick off with any kind of general comments about the other something? Do you want me to just jump right in with my capital purchases?
Well, we could start with the salaries, Donna, and it's not specific to the assessor's salary, but when I was going through the budget, I noticed some very high increases that looked, disproportionately higher than I'm used to seeing elsewhere in the private sector. I'll compare it to, and I was just wondering if I was assuming, but looking for clarification, if that is contractual or why it's so high.
And the reason for that, the employees receive not only COLA, which is 2% for 2025, and they also receive a grade step if they qualify for that. That's if they have not reached the top step and if their evaluation process goes successfully. So in some cases, you'll see a fairly large increase year to year. Could be 6-7% increase one year to the next.
Yeah,
And I say reach grade, the top grade is just COLA.
What was the COLA this year?
2%.
2%.
So, I know that Paul and I are accountants by trade. We use acronyms like COLA, so before everybody in the audience or at home thinks that we're giving Pepsi Cola or Coca-Cola to our employees, it's cost of living adjustments, which is a fancy way of saying what is the percentage hourly rate change from year over year or percentage increase in their salary. Most of these, you'll hear this as a common theme through the 14 department heads presentations. Most of the cost of living adjustment, COLAs, and the step increases are contractual based on the 3 union contracts that we have in town, that being white collar, which Donna's department, I think all of your employees are in the white collar except for you, and I think maybe you're a deputy. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is that correct, Paul?
That is correct.
Okay. There is also a blue collar union, which really encompasses the sewer department and the highway department, and then we also have the 1,000 Club, which is the police union. So a lot of these salaries and hourly are tied to the negotiated collective bargaining agreements that this board signed off on back in 2023. I think was when we signed off on blue and white collar agreements, and then earlier this year we signed off on the police union agreement. So if that's TMI, I apologize, but I figured I'd rather the community and everybody understands that, because it does permeate through the whole budget.
And the increase happens at the review versus like January 1st, that's the new salary, or it happens at a review cycle?
January 1st for COLA, and then step increase on the anniversary date.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Donna.
Write it down. All right, forgot about it.
So there is one salary that I could point out to show you that our part-time employee line has decreased because one of our long-term positions that was a higher end position is vacated. And so I have adjusted the budget to reflect that, the assumption that the next person will have to go back through some more training and such. So there is an unusual decrease in salary on that line. We hope to fill that position in 2025. So I asked to leave it in the budget for now, put it at a lower rate. Then you jump down, Paul, to point 2, which is the capital purchases. We have one item there for $1,500, and that is kind of a placeholder number. Our office uses a lot of color, and there's one color copier in the town hall. So when it's down, it kind highlight a few things. Pretty much this budget is pretty level year over year, just a few fluctuations of small amounts that amounts to outside of the salary changes. I believe the change in my budget is about $8,700 at my last estimate. So the computer equipment and licensing, things like Microsoft Office licensings and other softwares that we need to pay for, that's pretty stable. Our memberships are stable year over year. There's 2 or 3 of us in the office that are professional members of certain professional organizations. Deeds are pretty stable. Computer expenses, again, that's quite stabilized. Office supplies, that number is up a little bit. There's been general increase in pricing. We've also put a $500 placeholder in here for toner purchases for that color copier. So if it turns out we don't find the right one, those 2 items may come out, 500 from the office supplies and the 1,500 of the gloves I mentioned. And then we've run out of supplies. Some supplies we buy periodically, by every couple of years, we'll buy a large supply. So that's why my office supply line tends to fluctuate year over year, depending on the activities and how much we need in our supplies. When we order in a large supply, we can kind of stash it away and get a price break for it. We will do that for some of our office supplies sometimes. So it's time to beef up some of those supplies. The next line is staff, training, and conferences. Again, very stable. The next one is contractual services. So we have a vendor that we like to use who has written for us in the past a custom database to help us track and renew our exemptions. And that started when COVID came out. We started making appointments to renew because most of our renewable exemptions are with the senior citizen community and the disabled community. Veterans don't need to renew their exemptions and things. So we wanted to make sure that we could control the flow of traffic into our office, be able to accomplish all of our business. So we set up a scheduler that we could get our thousands of people in and out the door in a timely fashion, and we could get our work done. They could be assured that they had a private meeting with our staff, and it's worked very, very well. In fact, I have a little statistic for you. By doing that, we were able to cut down on our reminder mailers, which is a courtesy that we at Webster provide to our renewable exemption holders. We were able to cut down on that reminder that went out in February saying, hey, you're down to 30 days left, don't forget to apply before the deadline. We reduced that by 75% in the last couple of years. So it's really helped the efficiency of the work through the office, and I hear great things from our taxpayers saying, so glad to know you just come in and sit down with you and take care of our business, as opposed to standing in a line, gambling at the papers, stapling and say, we'll call you, this looks much better. So what I want to do then is, in light of the fact that the town is going to need a reevaluation, we're going to need to traffic again many, many more people than we're accustomed to seeing. And I'm looking to construct, starting now, a scheduler for those informal hearings that can double and stay on board with us for just standard grievance appointments. What we find ourselves doing is typing name, address, tax ID number, what is the assessed value, into all our systems over and over again. So what this database would do is it would read our assessment database, it would extract it, and then put it into the papers and the forms and the formats that we need, instead of typing it 4 or 5 times for every application because you need it in 4 or 5 places. So that is going to be an investment. It's going to save a lot of frustration and time for the staff and the taxpayers alike. So that is my big increase right there, $5,000 asking for the ability to create this custom software. The lady that we worked with before did really a super job with the exemption renewal, so I know we're going to end up with a very good product. Moving along, appraisal and legal contractual expenses. That is when a business owner has taken us to Supreme Court. We may need some appraisals, we may need expert witness testimony, and that is the line that helps fund that, along with any additional attorney expenses that may come up because of those litigation cases. assessments to $45,000. I left that in the same as last year because, as you know, we weren't able to launch those first few phases. And we have talked in the past, and we will get into more details in other meetings, but we've talked in the past how we might want to take a step-by-step approach and start building pieces of it together to save us on the large price tag all at once. And so that is just the beginning of getting our data and looking at some particular properties that we would like to revalue to certain ones. But this is the same budget that was there last year. We were able to launch that on the 24 goal. So this would be for the 2025 goal.
So Donna, in regards to that line and that amount of money in the step, is the step to manage the expense of a reevaluation over several years? Or is looking at that as a step function of reevaluation more aligned with slowly getting from 52% up to 100%?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to prepare to launch the program, so that's going to help afford that. As you know now, we have a full-time staff appraiser, so that is one of the big expenses that we won't need to take on before we have an appraiser on staff. So looking forward to working closely with our own appraiser on staff. But this money here will be for outside other things, data collection, and where we need to do a large volume all at once. Reworking some of our computer models and things like that. This is to get some of that price tag out of the way up front and get it published so that we can use it confidently before we launch it out on the actual revaluation of things. The actual plan itself, I'm not prepared to get into today. There have been some ideas talked about. I want to talk with some stakeholders before we actually begin to involve the public. But I guarantee that the public will be very involved and very informed when we begin that process. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Software maintenance contracts, we are currently taking a program that we have on our website. If you go to the assessor's pages on the town of Webster's website, you will find an image made online, and there you can look up your property information. It just gives the basic information in easy to understand terms. You don't need to know our jargon, as pointed out earlier. It'll say that you have a ranch house instead of telling you what code number you can punch in. You punch in two code numbers for the property or the building side, for example. So it'll give you a word, ranch, whatever. And that's a really great tool for you to use to make sure that we have the right information on file. And I encourage people to look at that. They are now hosting that on their server in Unit, New York, and off of our server. So there's an increase in expense for that. But also, there was a program called Eagle View that we very much rely on in our office to get a bird's eye view, if you will, of the properties. And it's overlaid with our property tax maps, so we can see exactly what is situated on a particular property and how it has changed over the years. That used to be offered to us free from Monroe County, but they have switched to a new program. So we wish to continue with the program that you're most familiar with, that we know how to make it work, and that has everything that we need. And the new program is very different in many ways. If it still had the tools, we'd be happy to make that switch. But right now, as we are embarking on talking more about an evaluation, changing that tool, relearning that, and having tools that we like to use is not a good idea. So this budget also includes an extra $3,000 for a program we never used to have to pay for. And so that's the other larger increase in my budget this year. That's just automobile maintenance. $500 will cover whatever we need for tires and oil changes and the simple things like that. Any questions I can take from the board?
No, but I have a comment about that software because I'm very familiar with it. And I did work at Eagle View, so that's also why I'm very familiar with it. And it was unfortunate that the county did decide to go with Nearmap, but the Nearmap solution does not have as clear of imagery and the measurement, which very specifically for assessing. Many departments, a GIS department or Parks and Recreation or other departments might be very fine with that other solution, but assessing specifically, the assessment department has the ability to measure those buildings right from their desk, and they can get very accurate information without having to go into the field. So that piece of software is very important, and Kristen was very integral in making sure that she had that tool to be able to do her job. So just to add a little more color to that line item.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate your support and understanding that. So we can reconcile things while somebody's on the phone that can be talking to us, and we can pull up a picture of the property, see the near maps, we would lose all history because the county is just beginning with that. So with the Eagle View, we can pull up the history, you can say, oh yeah, I see what you've done there, and it's just a very, very helpful tool. And our staff has learned to, I can measure within a foot. When I'm clear image, I can measure within a foot from my desk, measuring the other side of the building. Sometimes trees get in the way or your leaf is just a little off or something, but generally speaking, it is a very accurate tool for us, and that is why we love it, so we're just not ready to part with it.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you, Donna. I have no questions.
Jenny or John?
No, I have no questions. Thanks for your comments and your input with respect to the software. This goes to show that when you have a varied board that has different backgrounds, it really helps the process, in my opinion.
Jenny?
No, thank you.
Donna, great seeing you. Forward to seeing you at the office. Sure you can. All right. Thanks for doing this.
All right.
Thanks for
Thank you,
letting me
Donna.
know everyone.
You got it. You got it.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Right.